My brother goes through women like I go through socks. I gave him a +1 for my wedding 2 years ago. He brought his girlfriend of that time. When we were doing the family pictures, he wanted his girlfriend in the pictures. I said we could do some with her and some without. He got mad that I allowed my sister to have her fiancé in all the pictures, and my other brother was allowed to have his boyfriend of 5 years, but that I had the audacity to exclude his girlfriend of the week. My parents said that they didn't want any fighting and to just include her. They were paying for everything wedding related, so I said, fine. She isn't in all of our pictures, just the ones with our family and both families. Now my brother's engaged, and we had the family over last weekend. His fiancée saw our wedding picture on the wall and got into a fight with my brother. He never told her that he had been in a serious relationship with her nemesis. He tried explaining that they only dated for a very short while. She called nonsense because she was included in the family picture. She asked to see our wedding album. Sure enough, the girl was in multiple pictures with the families and the in-laws. My brother finally calmed her down, but had asked me to take the picture down or have his ex removed. I said that it was expensive, so he'd have to pay for it. He tried complaining to our parents. They said that I was being childish. I reminded them that they were the ones who insisted I give in to him. I said that they were welcome to pay for the editing. They said I was a jerk and that they'd already paid for my wedding pictures once. I said my brother could pay for that if he wanted his girlfriend's mortal enemy removed from my wedding pictures. Am I the idiot? Edit. The ex was a bully to the fiancé in middle school and high school. The issue isn't that my brother dated other women. It's that he had a serious enough relationship with her that she was included in a family wedding picture. My brother's between a rock and a hard place. He either has to admit to me he was an idiot for insisting she be in the pictures, even though she was in his life for a few minutes, or lie to his fiancé about how important to him she was. Honestly, I don't think my brother even remembers dating the girl in the picture. LMAO, your brother sounds like a catch. Not the idiot. You're right. This is their doing and they can pay for it if they want. Had they not pressured you in the first place, he wouldn't be in this situation. Notice, not your situation. This is his issue to deal with. Too bad for him. If I were being petty, I would pay someone to replace his picture with John Oliver and keep it up until he stopped being an entitled tool. The new chick has already seen the photos anyway, so the damage is done. Removing the ex won't alter history. They'll probably be broken up by the time you could get the new photos printed anyway. I feel your pain, OP. My brother's girlfriend of 3 years was included in all of our family photos. Little did I know that they had broken up 2 weeks prior, but he still took her because she already had the dress. 18 years and I still want to strangle my brother. Oh wow. Besides, when the chick leaves him, it'll just be a replay of the same drama with the next girl. OP could just use those Velcro stick-on tabs and Velcro a small photo of girlfriend du jour over the ex. Then when her brother breaks up with her and gets a new girlfriend, you can just rip the ex right off and stick on the new one. My brother's between a rock and a hard place. Hardly. Your bro's just being a baby in a mess of his own making. If he's ready to get married, as having a fiancé would suggest, he's old enough to have a difficult discussion with his fiancé and cope up to the embarrassing truths. It's silly to expect you to pay to get your wedding pictures photoshopped just so he doesn't have to talk to his own fiancé, especially since that wouldn't even solve the issue. Tell him to grow up. My boyfriend, 26, and I, 27 female, have been together for 5 years. I earn around $140K a year as a QA manager, and he makes between $40 and $50K as a warehouse forklift driver. He's never been into working, and we talked about him being a stay-at-home dad, and I initially agreed because childcare is expensive, and we want at least 2 kids. 7 months ago, he lost his job when there was a push for unionization, and some people were essentially bullied out. He was without a job, so I agreed to cover living expenses fully if he did the housework, cooked, etc. Before this, I didn't think of his ability as a stay-at-home dad. In the 7 months, I came home to empty beer bottles and trash on the coffee table. The fridge was constantly empty because he was supposed to go and buy groceries but never did. And when he does, it's mostly junk food. We originally agreed he would cook, and he's cooked maybe 4 meals for me. I'm still doing most of the cooking and cleaning. Now I just can't imagine him as a stay-at-home dad. He just sleeps in and barely applies for jobs. He just got one, but that's finally in response to me putting my foot down that I'm no longer supporting him. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and with 4 kids, she still kept a spotless house and cooked every meal from scratch. We've been fighting about this a lot recently, and I've told him that if we do have kids, he has to work because he isn't contributing at all now, and so I can't imagine he'll do anything as a stay-at-home dad. He yelled that he still has to apply for jobs and that he was under a lot of stress. But what's the stress? He has everything taken care of, and he barely applies to 1 to 2 jobs a day. He didn't do anything we agreed upon, me taking care of finances, and I don't know how to move forward with the relationship. But am I the idiot for no longer wanting him to be a stay-at-home dad now that I see what he's been like the last 7 months? Not the idiot. If you think he's useless now, wait until you have kids. How much help was he unemployed? He will be even less help when he can also claim he's so tired and stressed, not getting sleep, and having to have a job and not be a stay-at-home dad. You'll be working and doing all the child rearing and housework when you're home. Really consider if you want to do this alone with a stump for a husband before having kids. You are the idiot if you have children with this man. If he can't handle normal chores while unemployed, what makes you think he can handle being an involved father? He contributes nothing tangible to your relationship. Children are a lifetime commitment that he's incapable of making. Frankly, you should boot him. But I am wondering if losing his job didn't affect him more than he's letting on. Depression can cause that behavior, and choosing not to work and losing your job are 2 massively different things. Not saying he isn't lazy at home, just offering something to think about. I hope he gets counseling. Girl, get rid of this deadbeat and be glad you didn't marry him. What is he even bringing to the relationship at this point? He's treating you like a parent and acting like a teenager. He's not ready to be a dad. Even if he has depression, do not let that stop you from leaving, as he's not in a spot where he wants to acknowledge it and change for you or himself at all. Update. Thanks for all the comments. I've decided to end the relationship and will tell him this afternoon. This made me realize how resentful and unhappy I am with him, which is unlikely to change. To those that say he's probably depressed, he may be, but he's never communicated it. But yes, it could be the reason. But even if he does, I just doubt that knowing that will fix my resentment. So it's best that we end on semi-friendly terms. I, female 33, am a single mom to my daughter Ellie, teen. I've got a brother 29 who's been married for a year, his wife being Hannah, 28. They've been together for a total of 3 years. A couple of weeks ago, Hannah gave birth to their first child together. She's welcomed visitors, but I have no intention of visiting her and their baby because I'm angry at her. I'm angry because a month ago, Hannah and my brother stayed at my place temporarily for a week. They were between rent leases and didn't have anywhere else to go. I wasn't enthusiastic about them staying, as my relationship with my brother has been complicated, but I wanted to help them. On the day they arrived and on the day they left, Hannah screamed at my daughter and scolded her for very petty things. The first thing was that Ellie helped them bring their stuff into the house, and she left a pack of their soda bottles on the kitchen counter. They were forgotten about until sort of dinner time, and Hannah got all riled up because they weren't in the fridge, and warm soda made her feel sick. She apologized to Ellie afterward, but it didn't seem genuine, and she blamed it on her hormones. The second thing happened when I was at work. Ellie had eaten some fruit roll-up snacks in the kitchen, which I sometimes buy for her. These actually belonged to Hannah, which my daughter didn't realize, and she screamed at Ellie and made her cry, telling her she was useless and stupid. My brother tried to calm Hannah down and drove her to the store to buy some more of the snacks. Hannah never apologized for this, and pretended as if nothing had happened. I confronted Hannah about this, and she still hasn't apologized. She said that she was just heavily pregnant and on edge, and implied that my daughter has no manners and should have asked before eating the snacks. Ellie is in the clingy teenager phase, so she's told me everything she feels about this. She doesn't want to visit Hannah and the new baby, and quite frankly, neither do I. I can't look at Hannah quite the same. I'd never scream at someone else's child the way she did, even when I was pregnant, especially for such small things. And I'm struggling to understand why she'd overreact so much and be so mean-spirited towards my daughter. My brother's been asking why we haven't been over to visit, and I explained to him it's because I'm upset with his wife's actions. He says I'm overreacting and babying my daughter. Our parents got themselves involved and told me I was being a jerk and hurting everyone's feelings. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your sister-in-law verbally abused your daughter twice while being a guest in your home. She hasn't apologized for it and will do it again if the opportunity arises. You are protecting your daughter by keeping them apart. Your daughter always comes before your nibbling in your priorities. Tell your brother if he wants you to meet the baby, it'll happen away from sister-in-law, and you're fine if that's unacceptable to both of them and you just won't meet the baby. I'd be incredibly concerned about how she'll treat her own child if she's willing to jump straight to verbally abusing other people's children. I hope your brother has a plan for dealing with it if it starts happening. Meh. I give the whole situation 6 months to a year before brother grows a pair and bounces. OP, come back and update us when they split up. Hannah's proven that a fruit roll-up is more important than your daughter, regardless of pregnancy and hormones. I wouldn't visit either, but I would be petty and send her a gift that includes fruit roll-ups. Your family, and especially Hannah, need to get over themselves. My male 26, fiance female 24, can't drive because she has a chronic illness that prevents her from obtaining a license. We've been together for 7 years, and I've been the solo driver for all of these 7 years. Never once have I asked her to pay for fuel, insurance, upkeep, or repairs. She's from a very well-off family and gets financial help from her parents. Well, I have to work and pay for everything out of my own pocket since my parents can't afford to help me out. She just finished her master's and started working her first job last week. Since there's no public transportation, I get up 2 hours before I regularly have to and drive her to work. It's around 45 minutes each way. I had to change my insurance policy to include the extra distance driven, and my rate is shot up by 70% due to this. I did extensive math to calculate the fuel consumption, extra maintenance cost, and insurance cost, and explained everything to her. We had a verbal agreement that she'd pay for 75% of monthly fuel cost because my job is 80% home office, and I only use the car for grocery shopping or trips together outside of that. 50% of the insurance cost and 50% of any upcoming maintenance or repair cost. I believe that this is entirely reasonable because I've never asked her for any money in the 7 years I drove her around, and because 80% of my car use from now will be getting her to work. Then she went to her parents' place to get some cash because I asked her to pay back the insurance, a tank of fuel, and some extra cash because inspection is due this month. She sent me a text to the tune of, "My parents are furious and won't pay for your car insurance, and they said it's your car, and clearly you offered to drive me to work," as well as, "So I'm sorry, but I can only give you X dollars." I replied with, "Well, I don't understand it really, because A, I didn't offer it. It was basically universally expected for me to do that. B, you earn your own money now, so why don't you pay for it out of your own pocket? And C, don't bother with paying for it. I don't want you to get in trouble or get myself in trouble with my in-laws to be, but don't come whining to me when we'll just be spending weekends at home because of all my spending money going to car expenses." She then called me an idiot and a gold digger via text and told me she'll be back for dinner to talk this out. Talk it out we did, and what I got from it is that she thinks it's unfair that she, psychologist in training, earns as much as I do, side job IT, while working more hours, and that she believes she's entitled to a better living standard due to a more complex education, and that $250 in fuel and $70 in insurance each month would cut into her spending money. I told her that's tough luck, but it's how the world works, and to stop complaining because in just a few years, she'll out-earn me by like 4 times. She's still mad at me. Am I the idiot? You are not the idiot, but a bit of a sucker. If you want her to appreciate you and what you contribute to the relationship, stop driving her. Call your insurance and get the lower rate again. Go out with her on weekends like you did before. Let her parents or an Uber take her to and from work. It sounds like the arrangement was satisfactory to everyone before she took this job. Reset so that things are like they were for you before she took this job. Yeah, and she's calling him the gold digger? Like, my man hasn't asked her to pay for even a tank of fuel all the years they've been together, and now she's getting mad that she's got to help pay to upkeep their mode of transportation? How could she go for 7 years and never offer to contribute? As is often stated, she's showing you who she is. Believe it. She's using you. She's also entitled as heck and acting like a spoiled little princess whose daddy never told her no when he should have. To be honest, what she really needs is to be entirely on her own and have to pay for her own living and transportation expenses solo for a while. If you keep subsidizing her life and transportation, she'll only get worse. If you're smart, you'll break up with her. This is a bit complicated. My brother married Mila in Vegas. Their marriage wasn't planned and was a drunken mistake, according to my brother. It lasted a year and they divorced. Overall, it was an easy divorce, since they both agreed to go their separate ways. But she was pregnant during the divorce. This was years ago, and my nephew's a tween. He lives with his dad more often than not, since sister-in-law is struggling financially. She works as a waitress and has an apartment in a bad area. Nephew stays with dad, since he owns a home in a good area, and they have a nice school. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of her, since all she does is complain about being poor. We all accommodate and give extra so she can go to family outings. She also does nothing to help herself. She could have gone to trade or community college and looked for better jobs, but she's been a waitress at the same restaurant for 10 years. In all, I'm overhearing it. She was going on yesterday about how broke she is and how lucky I am that I got a good job. She made it seem like I didn't work for my job and the gods dropped it in my hand. I had enough and told her the only reason I have money, and she doesn't, is due to putting in work that she couldn't be bothered to do. She got mad, called me a jerk, and left. My brother's a little annoyed with me too. Edit, I'm an engineer. She thinks I'm not a hard worker and that I got my job by luck. That's the reason I have money is due to me being lucky, and the reason she doesn't have it is that she's unlucky. You are the idiot. I don't know what it really is at the root of your ungracious behavior towards Mila, but I suspect it has to do with you looking down on her socioeconomic status. You low-key call her poor trash a few different ways in this story, in addition to openly begrudging the extra accommodations you're making so that she can be included in family events. You really are a jerk. An elitist jerk who can't hold in her contempt for an hour on the limited occasions you have to see the mother of your nephew. The bottom line is that your brother's co-parenting with this woman, and he doesn't need you to create drama because you don't get along. Oh, come on, she was making a dig. Saying an engineer is lucky is a dig. These people are the worst and constantly complain, but don't do anything to help themselves. It's been 10 years. She would have been done with the trade like 5 times by now if she had actually signed up. I'm sorry, but I'd have more than a few choice words for my brother who brought such a woman into my permanent orbit, daring to get angry at me for not putting up with her nonsense.